let's get into the book. I want to talk about the book. By the way, I got a copy of the book right here. I don't know if everybody can
All
see
right,
it.
there you go.
Startup CXO.
Startup CXO.
Startup CXO, and Matt was kind enough to send me a copy. I've already got into it. When I was promoted to my first COO job, I wish I had this. And when I was promoted to my first president job, president of a $40 million company, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I wish I had this handbook.
And you should have seen my first book too, which I assume you have or have seen somewhere, which is Startup CEO.
Startup CEO. I love it. Yes. Yeah. I wish I'm reading this, Matt, and I went through and I want you to give the overview, obviously, but I just want to tell the listeners, I love how it's put together. It's like a handbook that you can just reference. Like if you're a CEO, you can go in here and go, damn, okay, I need to hire a CFO. I've never hired a CFO. What the hell do I do? What do I look for? What do I need? I just go to the CFO section, right? Or if I am a CFO and I'm wondering how I should work better with my CRO or whatever, you can reference it, right? So it's great for each functional leader at the C level, not just the CEO. I love the way it's put together. I really mean that, by the way. I don't just give casual recommendations on the Riderflex podcast. Like if somebody comes on the show and I don't like it, I usually tell them. So I really like it. I love the way it's put together. I like your little summaries at the end of each section. It is a very good handbook, and I mean that to the listeners. When I was first promoted to my first president role of a $40 million company in 2008, when the company was in a free fall and I had to find $1 million in cash in about 30 days or we were going to miss payroll. I remember coming home to my wife saying, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I mean, I can't, I don't even know why I even got this job. So anyway, the handbook I love the way it's put together, but go ahead. I want you to give your overview and talk about it. Go for it.
Yeah, well, so the story actually starts with the first book, Startup CEO, and also a handbook for CEO. It is a book that there's this great quote from Toni Morrison, who said something to the effect of, if there's a book you want to read and you can't find it, you should write it. I actually think the quote is, you must write it. And that was what Startup CEO was. Okay. I really wished someone had handed me an instruction manual of how to be a CEO. And that's what Startup CEO was intended to be, right? 65 chapters of reference, how to do this, how to do that. And when I finished Startup CEO, I had the idea for Startup CXO, but then it took 7 years to actually get to it. And the idea was, hey, I did this for CEOs. It'd be great to do it for everybody on an executive team. Put it all in one book and have multiple audiences for multiple purposes. So I'm not going to get into that because you actually articulated that perfectly as you were talking about the book. But the Startup CXO was conceived by me, but written by a whole bunch of people. So I wrote pieces of it, but each section was written by a practitioner of that function, someone who worked on the team, the leadership team at Return Path, and many of them are co-founders of Bolster as well. Although all of them have 20+ year careers of leading their function at multiple companies, not just together at Return Path or at Bolster. So it's a product we're really, really proud of, and the reason we decided to do it, and we actually spent a lot of time the first 3 months of Bolster doing the book.
I see.
Even the people who were Return Path people but not working at Bolster, I kind of roped them into doing it at the same time. It's very, very closely connected to the work that we're doing at Bolster. Obviously, we place CXOs, right? We talk about ourselves as being a great resource for leadership teams as they think about scaling. So it is, sort of deeply connected to the work that we're doing at Bolster, and we're very excited about it.
So you were working on it at Bolster. Can I ask you this? A little question here. Is this ran through Bolster? Are the profits from this running through? Is this a separate entity?
This Bolster owns this book.
Okay, great. Got it. All right. Got it. Okay.
We're very, very cognizant of intellectual property and work for hire. And this is property of Bolster.
Okay. I love it. By the way, the listeners can find it on Amazon and everywhere else you can buy a book, basically.
Yep.
Okay, I'm staring at it on Amazon right now, by the way. It's already got like what, a 4.5, almost 5-star rating, almost a 5-star perfect rating. Somebody didn't give you a 5-star. Jesus. Let's hate that. Like somebody's
it's not going to be for everyone, but it is a good resource, and we're very excited about it. And I'll tell you one of the things we're one of the use cases that you didn't mention that we're also really proud of. We think it's great for CEOs. We think it's great for a CXO. But hopefully it helps people earlier in their careers. If they think they want to lead the function that they're in, think about how to career path themselves over time. So, if you're a marketing coordinator and you're working on, SEO, or you're, a field marketing person doing events, and you think you want to be a CMO in 5 or 10 years, the CMO section should give you a roadmap.
I love that. I'm glad you brought that up. Unless you work for a Fortune 500 company, and even in that case, it's not every time, but unless you work for Fortune 500, if you're working in a small to medium-sized company and you're promoted to the C-level, I can almost guarantee you that you didn't have a checklist. There was no training program. There was no training checklist. Nobody told you how the job's supposed to go. Perfect book for any of those people listening to the show. And just like you said, even at the VP level, when you're getting ready to get promoted or you're trying to get promoted. Yeah, I love it. Congratulations on launching it. When did it launch, by the way?
Beginning of June.
Beginning of June. Okay. Yeah. Now, do you already have another book planned?
Yes, there's one more that we're working on that will probably come out in early 2022. Maybe we'll sneak it into the end of this year. So it's a book called Startup Boards. So if you think about sort of our construct at Bolster, CEO, CXO, and board, those are the 3 books. So it sort of fits well with everything. One of my good friends and longtime investors and board members is a guy named Brad Feld from Foundry Group out there in Colorado. And Brad wrote a book called Startup Boards 6 or 7 years ago with another venture capitalist named 𝐿-𝐴 from the Bay Area. And I had a lot of contributions to that book, like a lot of text boxes and sidebars and things, but I was not an author of it. I raised the idea with the 2 of them about doing a second edition of the book with all 3 of us as co-authors and really freshening it up. I had written a lot more content about boards since then, because board searches is something we do a lot of at Bolster. We did this huge diversity study to benchmark private board diversity and compensation and things like that. So we have a lot of fresh content, fresh data to put into the mix. So the 3 of us are co-authors of that. And that's going to be a really good product as well. And that'll come out end of the year, beginning of next year.